What's up, witches? I'm Allie the Bronx Witch, and if you are new to my channel, I make videos about Wicca the religion, witchcraft the practice, and I do weekly tarot readings. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the Sabbat of Imbolc. So if you've been watching some of my previous videos, then you probably know that the Sabbats that I am referring to are the 8 holidays that fall on the pagan calendar and that are generally celebrated by most Wiccans. The Sabbat of Imbolc is my second favorite Sabbat after Samhain. I absolutely love this holiday for all that it symbolizes and means. It's definitely a holiday that gets looked over quite a bit because it does fall during the winter time, right after January, and this is typically a time when people are not really thinking about holding big festivities or big parties. They're not going out as much, they're not spending as much, and so this is one of those sort of quiet holidays. It doesn't necessarily get a lot of fanfare. But it's really beautiful symbolism, and I'm going to share that with you today, and I encourage you to celebrate this holiday and incorporate it into your Wheel of the Year celebrations. So a couple of things to know about Imbolc. Imbolc is one of the holidays that has a lot of wackiness going on in terms of pronunciations. So the word is spelled Imbolc, which would seem to be pronounced Imbolc, and some people do pronounce it that way. But my general understanding of the Celtic pronunciation of the word is Imbolc, where the B is silent and the C sounds more like a G. Imbolc is a time when the earth goddess Bridget is celebrated. Her name is spelled Brigid, but the Celtic pronunciation of this word is actually breed. So you will hear this holiday referred to everything from Imbolc to Imbolc to Imbolec to St. Bridget's Day, St. Breed's Day, the Feast of Bridget, the Feast of Breed. So there are literally like 10 or 15 different names for this one particular holiday. But they're all referring to the same thing, and this is the cross-quarter holiday, which means it falls directly between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, and it marks the midway point of winter in the northern hemisphere. In the pagan calendar, we celebrate the first of the year on November 1st. And so this day in the pagan calendar is actually the first of spring. And that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to us now, considering that for those of us in the northern hemisphere, it's probably still fairly cold where you are. There may be snowfall or snow on the ground. Leaves are still dead. The night is pretty long and the day still feels pretty short. And generally speaking, it just doesn't feel very spring-like. But what you want to keep in mind are the agricultural roots and the lifestyles of the people from whom this holiday originated. So in Ireland, Scotland, and Europe, at this time of the year is when people would start breathing a sigh of relief, because they were halfway through the winter season and they basically, could see the finish line. Surviving the winter back then was far, far more difficult than it is now, and it wasn't a guarantee. So if you made it this far, it was definitely worth celebrating. This was also the point in the year where any of the lambs and any cattle that you were able to keep alive during the winter would be set out to pasture. And the lambs that were mated during the fall and the beginning of the winter would now be giving birth to their little babies. And because they were giving birth, they were also now able to produce milk, which gave the people access to milk and cheese, things that they couldn't store during the winter without refrigeration. So one of the meanings of Imbolc is actually use milk, and refers to the fact that lamb's milk was now available at this part of the year. So that's sort of the calendar or seasonal originations of this holiday. Spiritually, this holiday is all about Saint Bridget or the earth goddess Bridget. And the reason why I refer to her as Saint Bridget is her story historically is pretty special and fairly unique. As we all know, as Christianity took over Europe, many pagan practices, including gods and goddesses, were gotten rid of, because they were not in line with Christian teaching. Bridget is different. She was so revered and so loved that rather than getting rid of her, the Christians actually just made her into a saint. So you will hear her referred to as the earth goddess Bridget, if people are kind of paying homage to her pagan roots, or referred to as Saint Bridget, because she is a saint in the sort of Catholic saintdom. Because she is an important feature in Catholicism, she is also an important feature in Voodoo, which is a mixture of Catholicism and African roots. So Madame Brigitte in the Voodoo tradition is the very same Bridget, Breed, or Saint Bridget that we are talking about. Bridget is the quintessential earth goddess, as she is the goddess of everything from fire to poetry, transformation and childbirth, prophecy, learning, and even creation. She's a central figure in Celtic mythology, and she's the embodiment of the triple goddess. Because of her connection to transformation and creation, this holiday is all about planning for something new, destroying the old and moving forward into the new you or the new part of the year. So Yule was a time to rest, to go inward, spend time with family, honoring ancestors, and processing all that had happened in the year before. Imbolc is now about planning and preparing for the year ahead. It's a very forward and future-oriented holiday. This energy of renewal and having gotten through the hardest parts of winter is a common theme all over the Northern Hemisphere. So there are actually a lot of different holidays that fall around the same time as Imbolc and kind of draw on this same energy of time to clean, time to plan, and get ready for the new year. For example, the Romans had Februalia, the Christians have Candlemas, the Chinese celebrate their New Year about the same time. And even non-spiritual holidays like Groundhog Day and Mardi Gras have some connection to the celebrations of Imbolc. So whatever your background or your chosen pantheon, particularly if you're not interested in working with Bridget or Saint Bridget, I encourage you to look into what celebrations were happening in your culture or in your geographic location around this time in order to draw on ideas for how you might like to celebrate this point in the year. And of course, if you don't want to work with a deity at all, you can simply celebrate this Sabbat for its significance in terms of the changing of the season and warmer days to come. This year, 2020, Imbolc falls on Sunday, February 2nd. And the moon is in the sign of Taurus, while the sun is in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius being an air sign and Taurus being an earth sign, we definitely have those energies of both transformation and planning. The air sign gives us that energy of things changing, things being blown down to make room for something new, things flowing on a breath, flowing on the air. And with the Taurus energy, we have that static bull that doesn't move very quickly and spends a considerable amount of time planning and preparing for the future. So when it comes to ways to celebrate this, planning, preparing are definitely going to be common themes that run through some of the ideas that I give you. Wherever you see Imbolc or Imbolc-like celebrations around the world, they are typically not super big celebrations. They are typically smaller, more intimate celebrations that revolve around home and the workspace. So to help you with planning your Imbolc celebrations, I'm going to read to you some correspondences that you might want to incorporate in your practice, your ritual, your celebration, whatever you're doing that day. Starting off with some color correspondences, colors that you might want to wear or work with on Imbolc are light green, pink, white, and yellow. Some herbs that are good to work with at this time include angelica, basil, blackberry, cinnamon, grain, reed, and wormwood. Daffodil and crocus flowers are great flowers to work with at this time. So if you're going to be decorating your home or your altar spaces, you might want to look for some crocus or daffodil flowers. Amethyst and turquoise are the best stones to work with at this time. Amethyst helps you connect to the psychic awareness and strength that you need to make transformations in your life, while turquoise is great for healing, inner strength, balance, and courage. Some animals that you might want to work with or whose energy you might want to invoke. Definitely, of course, we have the cow and the sheep, which makes a lot of sense agriculturally for what was going on when this holiday came to be. But also animals like the groundhog, the lark, and even the dragon relate to different elements of this holiday. And if you're going to be burning some incense, consider incense that has herbs or scents in them like cinnamon, basil, peppermint, and cedar. And for you tarot readers out there, there are also some tarot cards that connect with the energy that's prevalent at this time. There's the Death card, of course, representing transformation and change, turning over a new leaf and starting a new cycle. The Empress card, which very much relates to Bridget or Saint Bridget and her essence as the triple goddess, as the earth goddess, as the sort of mother of all. And the Star card, which refers to intuition and inspiration and the spark of new ideas. If you've been following along with my Esbat and my Sabbat videos, then you know that I utilized the energy of January's full moon to prepare my workspace, to give it a good deep cleaning and to kind of recharge it for the year. So now that that's done, I'll be turning my attention to cleaning the rest of my home and getting it ready for warmer days and all the things that I want to tackle in the spring and summer. This is a great time to get ready for the increase in energy that you're going to be feeling as the weather gets warmer and you are able to do more things. So if you're not aware of feng shui, I would definitely recommend looking up some basics of feng shui to make sure that your home space flows really well so that you can move really quickly, do lots of things really easily without things getting in the way or things being in uncomfortable or inconvenient locations. Now is a good time to not only clean your home and workspace, but to reorganize it so that everything flows well and allows you to get your projects done in as smooth and as easy of a fashion as possible. And in terms of working with deity, if that's something that you're interested in, like I said, this type of energy or this time of year is celebrated all over the Northern Hemisphere. And so you can find many different cultural backgrounds and religious structures that also have gods or goddesses that would lend themselves well to working with at this time. As you know, I work with the Hindu deities, and because I'm going to be doing some reorganizing and clearing pathways in my house and making sure that everything flows smoothly, it makes a lot of sense to me to honor Ganesh at this time, who is the remover of obstacles, so that he can help me as I increase the flow of success, productivity, abundance, love, and anything else that I want to flow smoothly into my life and into my home. He's going to be able to help me generate that energy. So I'm going to be honoring him this Sabbath. Candles. Candles are a very important element in terms of celebrating this holiday. And so doing any type of work with candles, even if you just place candles around your home for decoration, is a great way to honor the energy of this Sabbath. Candles are important, first of all, because they relate to the element of fire, and we know that Bridget is the goddess of fire, amongst other things. But also, energetically, this holiday is about small flames. So not the roaring bonfire of Lunasa in August, but just the start of a small flame that has been allowed to be kept alive all winter long. And that is going to lead us into the hotter, more fiery energy of the coming year. So if you would like to celebrate this holiday using candles, aside from decorating your space with them, you could bless and dedicate a candle to Bridget or to any of the deities that you wanted to work with on this day and simply light it in their honor. Another idea is to make some type of a traditional craft. The two that come to mind for me are Bridget's crosses and corn dollies. So you can find really easy instructions for how to make these online, but a Breed's cross is a symbol that you see quite frequently throughout Europe. It's been adopted by the Christians as well as the pagans, and you can simply make it out of a cross of wood or sticks that you then wrap around some type of bendable material. So usually you could use like corn husk or some type of wicker, but you could also just use like pipe cleaners if you were doing this craft maybe with kids, anything that will tie around the stick and stay firm. They're really easy to make. You can make a lot of them and decorate your whole home with them. You could just make one and put it on your front door or on your altar. Corn dollies are also of significance at this time. I am going to do something that I think other people do as well. I made a corn dolly for myself at Lunasa to celebrate myself, and I decorated it with some things that I planned on giving up for the harvest holiday. So I'm going to take that corn dolly and kind of reinvigorate it because it's essentially been a symbol of me throughout the winter, having given up certain things, and now I can kind of emerge as somebody new with a new set of priorities for the year. So this is an example of a corn dolly. She's literally just a little doll made out of corn husks. And you probably can't see, but there were little spots on her where I had attached things or things that represented things that I was going to give up for the harvest season. So I've taken those things off, and now she's kind of ready to be reused. Another thing you can do, like I mentioned, is to clean your home and workspace, and to not just clean it in terms of like dusting everything off, but to actually reorganize it so that the flow and the function of each space in your home really lends itself to accomplishing all the things that you're trying to do this year. So for example, if you are working on a project and all of the tools that you need are typically like packed away in a box, and every time you have to work on that project, you have to take everything out and set everything back up, you might want to reorganize your space in a way where you can set up the tools for that project where they're easy to access, they're open and available, and this way you'll be encouraged to work on that project a lot more. And it will be easier to do so because you don't have to go rummaging through stuff in order to get started. This holiday, therefore, is also very much tied to the concept of cleaning. During the times when this holiday came to be, you have to imagine people were basically just sort of holed up in their little houses for months on end while they basically just waited for the worst of the winter to pass. Keeping your animals alive during the winter was one of the trickiest things that an agricultural person during this time would have to do during the winter. So it was quite common for folks to actually bring some of their animals indoors to live with them right in their houses in order to keep them warm and fed through the winter. And so Imbolc, with snow beginning to melt and animals being able to be sent out to pasture, was a time when folks would like deep clean their houses, because as you can imagine, probably not too pleasant to have like lambs and cows like laying on hay and pooping all over your actual house. So when Imbolc hit, this was a time to throw open the doors and the windows, even if just briefly and sweep out all of the dirt and the debris that had come to be because of living with your animals. So cleaning and cleanliness is definitely a big theme with this holiday, and something to keep in mind when trying to figure out what, if anything, you would like to do to celebrate this holiday. Another thing that you can do to celebrate Imbolc is to plant a seed or a sapling of some kind. So agriculturally, if it is warm enough, this would be the time of the year where folks start planting some of their garden items. If you live somewhere where it's too cold to go outside and plant something, you can start by planting a seed or a sapling indoors in a pot, and then in a few weeks when it's warm enough, you can transplant that to a spot outside. Another way to celebrate this holiday is to incorporate milk or dairy into your diet or into your celebrations. Because this was the first time where folks had access to milk and cheese, that was a central part of any festivities that happened or any dinners or feasts that were cooked in Bridget's honor. So whether you make yogurt, make your own cheese, buy milk and make a dessert from it, maybe even make a pizza. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that feels super like religious or pious. It can really be something simple and mundane, like making a pizza. But the idea is to honor this time of the year and to honor what the animal kingdom was able to give us at this time by indulging in the products that they provided with some reverence and some respect. Another thing that you can do to celebrate this Sabbat, and you can actually do this for any Sabbat, and I know a lot of witches that do, is you can set up a temporary altar specifically for this holiday. So this could be either decorating your working altar with different things that represent this holiday to you, or you could set up a separate altar where you decorate it and honor the deities that connect with this holiday. I am actually going to be trying something new this year. I saw this really cool craft, I guess you could call it, on an Instagram page called Wiccan Tips. I'll link it down below. You should definitely check it out. They give a lot of really cool ideas for recipes and crafts that you can do around the holidays and otherwise. And the idea is to basically make a frozen altar by freezing into a block of ice different herbs, flowers, etc. that connect with this holiday, and leaving a hole in it so that you can place a candle, and then burning that candle and letting that altar melt throughout the day of Imbolc. So definitely follow me on Instagram because I'm going to be trying to do that, and I will probably be posting either some pictures or some videos on my story about that process. But that's definitely something that you can do. Either decorate your working altar, set up a temporary altar, or make some fun kind of craft altar that is just for this specific day. There are lots of great ways to celebrate this awesome holiday. I definitely recommend the Sabbat Essentials from Llewellyn. They have all 8 of the pagan holidays, and each one has their own book. And inside this book is not only historical and cultural information about the holiday, but also great craft, recipe, rituals, and prayer ideas to help you to celebrate this holiday. So I definitely recommend picking them up. You can get them really easily on Amazon, and I will leave a link for you down below. So I really hope that you found this video helpful or at least liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, just leave them for me down below. And of course, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Click on the bell button so you're notified every time a new video comes out. You can follow me on Instagram at BronxWitch, and I will see you in the next video. Blessed be.